In the American legal system, courtrooms serve as extraordinary equalizers. The corporate executive and the hourly worker stand on identical ground before the bench. Professional accomplishments, financial status, and social position dissolve in the face of judicial authority. Yet some individuals arrive in court having never learned this fundamental truth, and their education can be swift and unforgiving. This is the story of such an education. Tuesday afternoon, 3:15 p.m., the municipal courthouse maintains its steady cadence. Cases called, testimonies heard, judgments rendered. The late afternoon docket consists primarily of routine traffic violations, the everyday infractions that comprise the bulk of municipal court business. Case number WF 783, the bailiff announces. Commonwealth versus Rebecca Morrison, speeding violation, Interstate 95. The courtroom doors open, and a woman in her late 30s strides forward with the purposeful gait of someone accustomed to controlling her environment. Rebecca Morrison wears a designer power suit, charcoal gray with subtle pinstripes, tailored to perfection. Her briefcase bears the logo of an expensive brand. Her phone remains in her hand, a technological extension of her professional identity. Behind her, maintaining a careful distance of several feet, follows a younger woman. Jennifer Torres moves hesitantly, dressed in more modest professional attire, carrying a folder and legal pad. Her posture speaks volumes, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes downcast, the physical manifestation of someone who has learned to make herself smaller in the presence of authority. Judge Frank Caprio looks up from his notes, taking in the unusual dynamic of the two women approaching the bench. In 3 decades on the bench, he has developed an acute sensitivity to power dynamics, and something about this particular arrangement immediately draws his attention. "Good afternoon, Ms. Morrison," he begins, his tone professional and courteous. "Yes." Rebecca's response is clipped, perfunctory. "Not yes, Your Honor." Not even a simple acknowledgement of the court's authority. Just yes, the kind of abbreviated response one might give to a service worker confirming an order. Judge Caprio notes this but continues. "And who is accompanying you today?" "My secretary, Jennifer." The way Rebecca pronounces the words drips with casual dismissiveness, as if introducing an inanimate object rather than a human being. "She's here to take notes in case I need documentation for my company's legal department." The judge nods politely toward the younger woman. "Good afternoon, Miss Torres." Jennifer begins to respond, her voice soft and respectful. "Good afternoon, She doesn't need to talk. Rebecca cuts her off with surgical precision, her voice sharp and commanding. "I'm the one with the citation. Jennifer, stand over there and be quiet." Jennifer's face flushes scarlet. The humiliation is visible, tangible. She moves to the side of the courtroom, her eyes fixed on the floor, clutching her notepad like a shield against further embarrassment. Judge Caprio's expression undergoes a subtle but significant transformation. His eyes narrow slightly. His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. He has witnessed countless workplace dynamics play out in his courtroom, but the overt nature of this particular display of disrespect registers immediately. He makes a mental note, but proceeds with the hearing. "Ms. Morrison, you are cited for traveling 87 miles per hour in a posted 65-mile-per-hour zone on Interstate 95. That represents 22 miles over the speed limit, which qualifies as excessive speed under Rhode Island traffic law. Can you explain the circumstances surrounding this violation?" Rebecca shifts her weight, her body language radiating impatience. "I was late for a critical meeting. I manage a team of 18 people at Morrison Analytics. When I'm late, projects get delayed. Clients become upset. Revenue is at risk. I had to arrive quickly. It was a business necessity." "Ms. Morrison, being late for work, even for an important meeting, is not a legal justification for excessive speed. Surely you understand, Your Honor." She interrupts him with a heavy sigh, the kind of exasperated exhalation reserved for explaining obvious concepts to the intellectually inferior. In my world, time equals money. Every minute I spend trapped in traffic or sitting in this courtroom costs my company thousands of dollars in lost productivity. I understand that you're busy, but do you understand the danger? With respect, Your Honor, you sit here all day dealing with parking tickets and minor infractions. I run operations for a multi-million-dollar analytics firm. My time is exponentially more valuable. I'm not trying to be rude, but we need to acknowledge the economic reality here. The courtroom falls absolutely silent. Even the court reporter's fingers pause on her stenography machine. The other people waiting for their cases exchange wide-eyed glances. Did this woman just tell a judge that her time is more valuable than his? Judge Caprio's voice, when he speaks, has acquired a new edge. Still professional, still controlled, but carrying unmistakable steel beneath the courtesy. Ms. Morrison, I'm going to stop you right there. Your professional success, impressive though it may be, does not entitle you to violate traffic laws, nor does it entitle you to speak disrespectfully in this courtroom. Do you understand that distinction? Rebecca opens her mouth to respond, but Judge Caprio raises one hand, indicating he is not finished. Before we proceed further with this hearing, I need to clarify something about the citation. The officer's report mentions a passenger in the vehicle at the time of the stop. He turns his attention directly to the younger woman standing against the sidewall. Jennifer, were you in the car when Ms. Morrison was stopped? Jennifer's eyes dart nervously to her employer, then back to the judge. The conflict is visible on her face, the desire to answer truthfully warring with the fear of professional retaliation. Yes, Your Honor, I was... Jennifer, Rebecca's voice cracks like a whip. I'm asking the questions here. You don't need to answer anything, just take notes like I instructed you to do. Judge Caprio's patience, tested but still intact up to this point, evaporates like morning dew under a harsh sun. Ms. Morrison, I just asked your employee a direct question that is relevant to this case. She has every right, indeed an obligation, to answer truthfully. She works for me. Rebecca's tone brooks no disagreement. I decide when she speaks and what she says. That's how employment works. Judge Caprio leans forward, his full attention now focused on the woman before him. When he speaks, every word carries deliberate weight. Ms. Morrison, let me be absolutely clear about something. In this courtroom, I decide who speaks and when, not you. I will address anyone present if their testimony is relevant to the case at hand. Your employment relationship with Ms. Torres does not supersede the authority of this court. Rebecca's face flushes crimson. Her jaw clenches. The muscles in her neck stand out in sharp relief against her designer collar. Your Honor, with all due respect... I haven't heard much respect so far, Ms. Morrison. Please continue. I'm a busy professional. I came here to resolve a simple speeding ticket, not to have my employee interrogated or to be lectured about workplace dynamics that, frankly, have nothing to do with this hearing. This hearing became about workplace dynamics the moment you prevented a witness from answering a direct question from the bench. The way you've spoken to Jennifer since walking through those doors has been dismissive and demeaning. That matters here. Rebecca releases a short, incredulous laugh. Demeaning. Your Honor, she's my secretary. That's her job. To assist me, to follow my instructions. I pay her salary. I determine how we communicate. That's called management. Not in my courtroom, you don't. Judge Caprio turns his attention back to Jennifer, his voice softening noticeably. Miss Torres, I apologize for putting you in an uncomfortable position, but I need to establish certain facts for this record. Were you in the vehicle when Ms. Morrison was stopped for speeding? Jennifer hesitates, visibly trembling. The weight of the moment presses down on her. The judge waiting for an answer. Her employer radiating fury. The entire courtroom watching this drama unfold. "Jennifer, don't you dare!" Rebecca begins. "Ms. Morrison, be quiet." Judge Caprio's voice cuts through the air like a blade. "Jennifer, please answer the question. You're under no obligation to this woman while you're in this courtroom. Your only obligation is to tell the truth to this court." Jennifer takes a deep, steadying breath. When she speaks, her voice is quiet but clear. "Yes, Your Honor. I was in the passenger seat. We were going to a client presentation and Ms. Morrison was upset about traffic conditions. She was driving very fast and I asked her to slow down because I was frightened. She told me to shut up and stop being dramatic." The courtroom is riveted. This is no longer a routine traffic hearing. It has transformed into something far more significant, a window into the toxic dynamics that play out daily in offices across the country. Rebecca explodes. "Jennifer, how dare you? I brought you here to support me, not to sabotage me in front of a judge. You're fired. Do you hear me? Fired. Clean out your desk today." "Miss Morrison!" Judge Caprio's voice cracks through the courtroom like thunder. He rises from his chair, something he rarely does, and the physical act of standing commands immediate attention. "You will not threaten your employee in this courtroom. Do you understand me?" "She works for me. I can fire her if I want to. This is my business, my company. This is my courtroom, and you just threatened a witness. That constitutes witness intimidation, which is a criminal offense under Rhode Island law." Rebecca realizes, too late, that she has crossed a serious line. But her anger, her wounded pride, her absolute certainty in her own authority override whatever judgment remains. "Your Honor, you're overstepping. This is an employment matter between me and my secretary. You have no authority over." "I have complete authority over everything that happens within these walls, including preventing witness intimidation and ensuring that everyone who testifies here can do so without fear of retaliation." Rebecca's face is scarlet now, her composure completely shattered. She wheels on Jennifer. "Get out! Wait in the car! Now!" Judge Caprio remains standing. "Jennifer, you stay exactly where you are. Ms. Morrison, you need to control yourself immediately, or this hearing is going to become significantly worse for you." And that is when Rebecca Morrison makes her catastrophic mistake. Frustrated beyond reason, operating on pure emotion rather than rational thought, she waves her hand at Judge Caprio, an actual dismissive gesture, the kind of brushing away motion one might make to shoo away an annoying insect. "Don't tell me how to—" She catches herself mid-sentence. Her hand freezes in mid-air. The color drains from her face as she realizes what she has just done. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean... That was an accident, I was just..." But it is too late. The gesture has been made, witnessed by everyone in the courtroom, captured on the court's video recording system. Judge Caprio sits back down slowly, his movements deliberate and controlled. When he speaks, his voice is quiet, but it carries the absolute authority of judicial power. "Ms. Morrison, did you just make a dismissive hand gesture at me while telling me not to instruct you?" "Your Honor, that was a mistake. I was frustrated and a mistake." "I see. So threatening your employee was what? Also a mistake?" "I didn't threaten her. I was just..." "You told her she was fired in open court, immediately after she answered a question I asked her. That is textbook witness intimidation and retaliation." "Your Honor, please, I apologize. I was out of line. Can we just resolve the speeding ticket and move on? I'll pay whatever fine is required." "No, Ms. Morrison. We cannot simply move on." Judge Caprio opens his computer, his fingers moving across the keyboard with deliberate precision. The courtroom remains absolutely silent, every person present understanding that something significant is unfolding. Ms. Morrison, you came here today to answer for a speeding violation, 22 miles over the posted limit. Under normal circumstances, that carries a standard fine of $400 and 3 points on your license. Yes, I'll pay that immediately. I have my credit card. I am not finished speaking. Rebecca's mouth snapped shut. Since entering this courtroom approximately 12 minutes ago, you have engaged in the following behaviors. You have interrupted me multiple times. You have spoken disrespectfully about court proceedings. You have demeaned and humiliated your employee in a public forum. You have refused to allow a witness to answer direct questions from the bench. You have threatened that witness with termination. And you have made a dismissive physical gesture toward me while telling me not to instruct you. Judge Caprio pauses, allowing the weight of this recitation to settle over the courtroom. Ms. Morrison, under Rhode Island General Law 312711, I have the authority to suspend driving privileges for individuals who demonstrate contempt for judicial authority or engage in behavior that threatens the integrity of court proceedings. Rebecca's face goes pale. What? You can't? I can. And I am. In addition to the $400 fine and 3 points on your license for the speeding violation, I am suspending your driver's license for 15 days, effective immediately. The courtroom erupts in gasps. Rebecca's mouth drops open in shock. 15 days? I can't not drive for 15 days. I have meetings, client presentations, scheduled across 3 states. My entire professional life requires driving. Then you should have considered that before you disrespected this courtroom and threatened your employee. But I apologized. I said I was sorry. You apologized after you got caught, Ms. Morrison, after you realized you had crossed a line. That's not genuine remorse. That's damage control. Rebecca's voice rises to near shouting. This is insane. You're punishing me for being stressed, for making one gesture, for having a bad moment. This is an abuse of power. I am punishing you for a sustained pattern of behavior that demonstrates contempt for authority, disregard for others, and an inflated sense of self-importance. These are not the actions of someone having a bad moment. These are the actions of someone who believes rules apply to other people. Please, Your Honor, I'll pay double the fine. I'll take a defensive driving course. I'll do community service. Just don't suspend my license. I'll lose clients. My company will suffer. I have obligations. Judge Caprio's expression does not soften by even a millimeter. Ms. Morrison, you told me earlier that your time is exponentially more valuable than mine because you run a company, while I sit here dealing with parking tickets. Do you remember saying that? Silence. You told your employee to shut up when she expressed fear for her safety in your vehicle. You brought her here to take notes, then berated her for answering a direct question from a judge. You threatened to fire her for telling the truth under oath. And you waved your hand at me as if I were some annoying subordinate you could simply dismiss. He leans forward slightly. All of that tells me you are someone who believes rules exist for other people, that authority figures exist to serve your convenience, that employees are tools to be used and discarded at will. That is not just disrespectful, Ms. Morrison. It is dangerous. 15 days without driving privileges. Perhaps during that time, you will reflect on how you treat people. Perhaps you will learn that professional success does not exempt you from basic human decency. Perhaps you will realize that everyone, from judges to secretaries, deserves respect. Rebecca is crying now, but they are angry tears, tears of frustration and wounded pride rather than genuine remorse. This is unfair. This is an abuse of judicial power. I'm going to appeal this. My attorneys will appeal this immediately. Appeal all you want, Ms. Morrison. Everything that happened here today is recorded on video. Any judge, any appellate court that reviews this proceeding will see exactly what I saw. An arrogant executive who believed she was above consequences. Judge Caprio signals to the bailiff. Officer, please escort Ms. Morrison from the courtroom. Her license suspension begins immediately. She is not permitted to operate a motor vehicle for the next 15 days. Rebecca panics, the reality of her situation finally penetrating through her anger. Wait! I drove here. My car is in the parking lot. How am I supposed to get home? Then you will need to arrange alternative transportation. You are not driving that vehicle today, or for the next 14 days after that. But Jennifer can't drive my car. She doesn't know how to operate a luxury vehicle. That is not my concern, Ms. Morrison. Call a taxi. Call a friend. Call one of the 18 people on your team. But you are not driving. The bailiff approaches, his presence a physical manifestation of the court's authority. Ma'am, please come with me. Rebecca grabs her expensive briefcase, shoots a venomous look at Jennifer, and strides toward the courtroom doors. At the threshold, she stops and turns back. Your Honor, I want you to know this is wrong. I made one mistake, one gesture, and you're destroying my professional life over it. Judge Caprio's voice remains calm, but carries clearly through the silent courtroom. Ms. Morrison, I am not destroying your life. I am giving you a consequence for your behavior. There is a profound difference. I suggest you learn it. She is escorted out, her voice audible in the hallway, crying, cursing, protesting to anyone who will listen. After she is gone, Judge Caprio addresses Jennifer, who remains standing where she was, trembling visibly. Miss Torres, please approach the bench. Jennifer walks forward hesitantly, her eyes red, but no longer downcast. First, I want to apologize that you were placed in that position. You should never have been threatened for telling the truth to this court. Thank you, Your Honor. Second, I want you to understand something important. What Ms. Morrison did today, threatening to fire you for answering my question, that may constitute illegal retaliation under Rhode Island employment law. If she follows through on that threat, you have legal recourse. Jennifer's eyes widen. I didn't know that was illegal. Judge Caprio writes something on a piece of paper and hands it to her. This is contact information for Rhode Island Legal Services. They provide free legal consultation for employment issues. Call them tomorrow. Tell them what happened here today. Thank you, Your Honor. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. You did the right thing by telling the truth, even though it was difficult. That took real courage. Jennifer nods, tears spilling down her cheeks. But these are different tears than Rebecca's. These are tears of relief, of validation, of a burden shared, rather than carried alone. A woman in the gallery stands. Your Honor, may I speak? Judge Caprio nods. My name is Elena Santos. I work in human resources at a technology company. I have seen managers like Ms. Morrison destroy employees' confidence in careers over the course of my professional life. What you did today, holding her accountable, protecting Jennifer, making it clear that workplace abuse has consequences, that's what every toxic boss needs to experience. Thank you. Applause breaks out in the courtroom, not thunderous, but sustained and genuine. People recognize what they have witnessed, not just justice in a traffic case, but justice for every person who has ever been bullied by someone with institutional power. After court adjourns, the bailiff informs Judge Caprio that Rebecca made 3 phone calls from the courthouse parking lot, desperately seeking someone to retrieve her. All 3 people refused. She eventually called a rideshare service, and the driver reported that she spent the entire ride crying and ranting about judicial overreach. Jennifer, meanwhile, is offered a ride home by Elena Santos. They exchange phone numbers. Elena mentions that her company is currently hiring, and that Jennifer's honesty under pressure demonstrates exactly the kind of character they value in employees. The courtroom video goes viral within 48 hours, spreading rapidly across social media platforms with a particular resonance among working professionals who have endured toxic management. The comments are telling. Finally, someone holds an abusive manager accountable. That hand wave at the judge, I've seen that exact gesture from my supervisor 100 times. 15 days without driving. Perfect. She can experience what it's like when time is money and you can't get anywhere. When Judge Caprio said, "This is my courtroom," I felt that in my soul. 2 weeks later, Rebecca files an appeal. It is denied within 48 hours. The appellate court's ruling is terse and unambiguous. Video evidence clearly demonstrates multiple instances of contempt, witness intimidation, and disrespect for judicial authority. The 15-day license suspension is both justified and appropriate given the totality of the defendant's conduct. Rebecca serves her full 15 days without driving. She Ubers to meetings. She misses a critical client presentation because her ride is delayed by traffic. She experiences, firsthand, what it feels like when you cannot control every aspect of your environment. Jennifer accepts the job offer at Elena's company. Better compensation, healthier culture, respectful leadership. She never returns to Morrison Analytics. 6 months later, in a business leadership podcast interview, someone asks Rebecca, "Tell us about a time when you learned from a mistake." She hesitates, then answers quietly, "I disrespected people I thought were beneath me. A judge taught me that nobody is beneath me. Everyone deserves respect regardless of their position. I'm still learning that lesson every day." It is not a complete transformation, but it is, perhaps, a beginning. In his chambers, after that day's docket concludes, Judge Frank Caprio reviews the video of the Morrison hearing. He watches Rebecca's dismissive gesture, frozen in a single frame, her hand waving him away as if he were an inconvenient obstacle rather than a judicial authority. He thinks about Jennifer's trembling voice as she told the truth, despite knowing it might cost her livelihood. He thinks about the applause that followed his ruling, recognition that justice sometimes means protecting the powerless from the powerful. And he thinks about the fundamental purpose of courtrooms in a democratic society, to serve as spaces where wealth, status, and professional achievement dissolve before the law, where the CEO and the janitor stand on equal ground, where respect is not negotiable and consequences are not optional. He writes a single note in his case file. The law respects everyone equally. Some people learn this lesson gently. Others require firmer instruction. He closes the file, turns off his computer, and prepares for the next day's docket. Because tomorrow, there will be more cases. More people who need to understand that in the courtroom, everyone follows the same rules. And Judge Caprio will be there to remind them.